Today on the Bandrew Says podcast, we'll be talking about how to work from home like a pro and a whole lot more, so go ahead and stick around. The first thing that I want to talk about is the fact that a lot of people, through no fault of their own, have been forced into a position where they have to work from home, meaning they have to call into conferences, they have to present to their managers, and they have to stay as productive as possible in an environment that is not really conducive to that. So I figured, what better time than right now to share a few tips on how to work from home in the best way possible. Unfortunately, I am relatively new to the whole teleworking and working from home scenario, so I'm not the best person to offer you that advice. Luckily, I have a good friend or a mentor named Bandrew who does have a lot of experience in this field and can share some tips and tricks with you on how to get the most out of working remotely. So I am going to throw the show over to Bandrew right now, and I hope he can offer you some advice that helps you out. Oh, good. Yes, thank you, Bandrew, whatever that name is. I will go ahead and share my expertise and my valuable opinion on how to work from home like a pro. Tip number 1 is your attire. Although you are working from home and you may find it appealing to wear sweatpants, do not do this. You need to make sure that you dress to impress. Your boss and coworkers need to know who they are dealing with. You can see huge benefits from wearing a lovely smoking jacket, a bow tie, having a well-y trimmed mustache, and especially having a pipe or a lovely, nice black beanie. You may also be tempted to not shower or get ready at all. This is a trap that many people fall into when they first start working from home, but you can benefit greatly from getting up and following your regular routine. This allows you to get into the same mindset that you would be in when you get up, get ready, and commute to work. This will ultimately allow you to be much more productive while you are working from home. Tip number 2 is to make sure that you have good video if you are doing video conferencing. This does not mean that you have to go out and spend $5,000 on a camera rig. You can use the camera that is built into your laptop, but you need to take a few steps to ensure that you are getting the best quality. The most important aspect of video is good lighting. So if you are sitting in a dark room, open up those blinds, turn on those lights, and put those lights in front of you so they are illuminating your face. You also need to focus on having a good background for your video because you do not want your coworkers or your boss to see your dirty dishes or your dirty laundry. So go around your house, maybe find a lovely map as I have in my video background, and set that up so it looks good and appealing to the viewers of your video. The last thing you need to focus on is having a proper angle for your video. This means do not have the camera looking up your nose and accentuating your double chins, you big ol' fatty. What you want to do is, if you have a standing desk, or if you have a stack of books, or a $3,000 tube microphone carrying case, use that to prop up your laptop or your camera to get it at eye level, which will make you look much more appealing. Tip number 3 is to make sure that you have good sounding audio quality. There has actually been research done that shows that if you have good sounding audio quality, your listeners will find you more trustworthy. A few tips on getting good sounding audio quality is, if you are able to, please use an external microphone because most of the internal microphones on computers or your phones are absolutely terrible. This doesn't mean that you have to go out and buy a $10,000 microphone setup. You can get by with a $25 to $100 USB microphone and end up with much better sound quality. Yes, quite. It's also imperative that you turn off any kind of loud sound sources, whether this be your air conditioner, your air purifier, or your washer and dryer. You do not want this noise distracting from what you're trying to communicate. Additionally, if you have the microphone too far from your mouth, this can lead to a lot of echo and reverberation, which can degrade the quality of what you're trying to say. You want to make sure that what you are trying to communicate is easy to understand for your coworkers and your boss, because you are trying to impress them and let them know who is really in charge. And the last thing that I'll recommend for audio is to avoid typing on the keyboard as much as possible while you're in that voice call, especially if you're using your laptop's internal microphone or a microphone that is sat on your desk. That's because the microphone is very close in proximity to the keyboard, and it will be very distracting for the listeners on the call. And with all of that being said, this silly millennial Bandrew did a video with 10 tips on how to get better sounding audio quality out of your microphone, and I will go ahead and link that in the show notes and description down below if you want to learn a little bit more. Tip number 4 is posture, posture, posture. Not only is it unhealthy to sit with bad posture, but it makes you look like an absolute millennial bum. So when you are in a video call, make sure to sit up straight and present yourself authoritatively. Make sure everybody knows that you are the one that is in charge and that you know what you are doing. And tip number 5 is to set yourself up for success. This means do not treat working from home like a vacation and set your home office up as though it was your actual office at work. And yes, this means you can't have your mobile doobly-doo playing Leave It to Beaver or the Clarence Welk Orchestra all day long. You still need to be able to focus on your work and be as productive as possible. And with all of these tips, you should now be able to work from home like a pro, unlike these broke, jobless millennials like Bandrew, whatever that name is. Goodbye. Wow, thank you so much, Boomer Drew. Those tips and tricks are really useful. However, I think the rude words about myself and all millennials, a little bit unnecessary and rude. I wish you would take that back, but I'm not going to hold it against you because I know you're from a different generation and I'm just a big old snowflake. But thank you very What am I doing? That's it for that. Let's look at the comments about what you had to say about last week's episode. First comment comes from Gut Punch News. He says, "Did you get the take on poor audio quality from late night hosts from No Agenda? Adam Curry was pissed about it." Gut Punch News, thank you very much for that comment, and in the morning to you. No, I did not get that take from Adam Curry. I actually learned about the bad audio quality from my friend Jordan on Twitter. He tagged me in a thread about this. I went and listened to the audio quality of the late night talk show hosts, and I got what kids would call triggered. I was very unhappy to hear how bad it sounded, especially knowing how big the budgets for these shows are, and I wanted to maybe put some pressure on them to improve their quality and set a good example for what should be expected from online content creators. I don't want people seeing these late night talk show hosts with terrible quality and think, that's good enough for them? That's good enough for me. I want online video and online audio to sound excellent. I want it to sound as good as possible because that's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear crap. So I'm going to pressure them to improve their quality of production. I did not get it from Adam Curry, but I understand him being angry, although I would criticize them for overcompressing their audio. He's joked about it in the past, though. Adam Curry has said that the audio from the No Agenda show is just a solid black bar because I don't know what kind of compression they're doing, but they compress the heck out of it. And I find their ideas and news deconstruction to be pretty interesting. If anybody's interested, noagendashow.com. Thank you very much, Gut Punch News. I appreciate you. And also check out Gut Punch News' show. Really interesting news deconstruction from both of them. Next, we got a comment from Pablo KBS. He says, "Have you considered getting the camera fixed instead of buying a new one? It might be a swollen capacitor. It would be a nice project to pass the quarantine times. If you open the camera and find a swollen capacitor, replacing it takes a few minutes and they are dirt cheap, just a few cents. Anyway, I've been using the Canon EOS Rebel SL2 and it's been really good. It has the same sensor as the 80D and it's pretty cheap. I definitely recommend it. Check it out." Pablo, thank you very much for the comment, and that is a great suggestion. I do plan on having the 70D repaired. However, I am not a techie person. I would likely break a $1,000 camera or $600 camera, whatever it's going for now. So what I do plan on doing is sending that 70D to Canon to repair it. But right now, given the social distancing, the closing down of non-essential businesses, I highly doubt that Canon's repair shop is currently open, so I would be sending it to an empty warehouse and having it sit there for months potentially, and I don't want to do that, especially because the 70D is still able to record in short bursts, so I can still record my B-roll with the 70D for the time being until I decide on what camera I want to buy to replace that as a B-roll and secondary angle camera. and then when everything clears up with all this nonsense, I will send it to Canon, have them fix the 70D, and then I'll have a backup camera if one of the 90Ds dies. As far as the free time, the quarantine time, I don't have any additional free time because I am working remotely and I am an essential business person. So I still work 9.5 hours a day for my day job and then do YouTube in the evenings. And I still like having a little bit of free time to decompress and watch movies and do all of that. So I don't have the time to learn how to tear down a camera and learn how the electronics work and replace all that stuff. I would love to, but I also like having a paycheck. But Pablo, thank you very much for the comment. I appreciate you are a mad lad, a legend. You're awesome. Next, we got a comment from Jeffrey Maxwell Rawson. He says, the major networks seem to be running on a diet of doom and gloom, so perhaps the production values are an actual choice made by producers to reinforce the theme. Make it scary. Frightened people consume. Jeffrey, thank you very much for that comment, and normally I would be right there with you, peddling the conspiracy theories, or at least entertaining them. I would jump over to the conspiracy corner, but I don't want to fuel the fire of fear right now. How's that for alliteration? Good job, me. I don't want to do that. I want to be a little bit more level-headed than I normally am and not try to freak people out. It's possible what you're saying. I would be horrified if that was true, if that was an intentional decision saying, you know how we could get people to buy some more? Produce low-quality content. I understand why they would do that. I hate the idea of that actually being true, so I'm going to bypass this one for now, but that's an interesting idea. Thank you very much for the comment. Normally, I'd be right there with you in the conspiracy corner, but not right now. I don't want to fuel the fire of fear. Next, we got a comment from Cool Mark D, and he says, regarding the sound quality issues, I think you're way overestimating the average person and way underestimating the idea of quote-unquote authenticity. I'm not disagreeing with the objective assessment of this situation, but there was a video that somewhat quote-unquote broke my glass on these types of pretensions, effect. Lindsay Ellis has a video called YouTube, Manufacturing Authenticity for Fun and Profit, and it nails this phenomena on the head. You are potentially underestimating this because you're potentially overestimating what people think of sound quality. Seeming relatable is relatable in that so many people are in similar situations on their work-from-home Zoom calls because no one has invested in this and no one saw this coming. Having them appear as unprepared and taken by surprise is maybe comforting in this time to the layperson or non-audio person or just the average person. Your mileage may vary, but I expect that in overall numbers, it's effective, and in overall sentiment, it's effective. If they flexed with $2,000 boom microphones and their audio still sounded terrible, I'd take the opposite approach. But to have them appear as equal to John and Joan Q. Public as possible, yes, they live in expensive homes, they won't change that, nor should they, is definitely a statement. I agree that with minimal investment and guidance from the professionals who already work on their programs, it could definitely be better, but they're intelligible and very much themselves working from home, so take that for what it's worth, I guess. Mark, thank you very much for the well-formulated and well-thought-out response to what I was saying last week about these late-night talk show hosts and their really bad production quality. First thing I want to address in your comment is, I don't think these people should be forced to give up their million-dollar mansions. They have somehow found a way to be successful, and that should be celebrated, and they should not be punished for being successful and finding a way to earn money. However, what I was commenting on and maybe being a little bit critical of is the absurdity of a bunch of millionaires sitting in their huge mansions trying to come across as relatable to a bunch of people who may not have paychecks coming for a couple of months. These are people who may not have money to pay their rent or may not have money to eat. And it seems a bit silly to try to focus on being relatable as opposed to just producing the show that you're supposed to be doing. Producing the show to the level that you are paid to produce it to. Now, I will admit, I am on the fence about subscribing to your idea about it being manufactured unpreparedness or manufactured relatability. The reason I am saying that is the majority of these late night talk show hosts are a part of a network that have a news arm. They are a part of a network that has a news agency attached to it, maybe except for Conan O'Brien, who's on TBS. What that tells me is that all of these TV executives were fully aware of what was going on, especially if you look at the narrative that is being pushed on the news right now. Oh, we've known since January everything was going to be terrible, and the politicians didn't do anything. How terrible at your job can you be? If you knew about it, guess what? The TV executives knew about it, and I guarantee you they wouldn't say, oh yeah, we know that there's going to be a huge shutdown for maybe a month or 2 or 3. Let's not prepare for that. Let's not prepare for that event. Let's just wing it. I can guarantee you they did not do that. They want to ensure that the money that they earn maintains at the level that they are currently earning at, or it increases. They are not going to risk it. So I do somewhat subscribe to your idea, and that is absolutely disgusting to me, and it makes me lose even more respect for these late night show hosts or the people who dictated to them to do it this way. That makes it so much worse to me to manipulate people. That is disgusting, and I hope that's not true. Chances are it is, though. Thank you very much for the comment, Mark. I got a little bit conspiratorial and a little bit angry there. I don't hate them. I don't hate these people who are doing the late night talk shows. I was just a little bit angry because if I can do it, they can do it. And I think that audiences deserve the best quality product that somebody can make, and they should not be manipulated. And I do think that trying to come across as relatable by having crappy quality content is manipulation. Trying to call, oh, hey, look, they're just like you. No, they're not. They're not. They have teams of dozens of people. Their budgets for their shows are millions of dollars. They are far from relatable to us. Far from relatable to us. That's all I'm trying to say. But I don't hate them. More power to them. They're successful. Good for them. Now let's jump to my favorite. Oh, by the way, Mark, I appreciate you. I'm not angry at you. I love chatting with you. You're a great bloke. A great bloke? Who am I? I am going a little bit stir crazy here. Oh my God. Okay, let's jump to my favorite part of the show, the Ask Bandrew segment. Alrighty, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and head over to askbandrew.com. That has instructions on how to send in an email, send in an audio, or send in a video question. By the way, please send in audio or video so I don't have to read. I suck at it. And then you don't have to listen to my voice for a few minutes. How amazing is that? Askbandrew.com. On the note of voice emissions, we have 2 of them this week. First one comes from Sean. Sean, take it away, good sir.
Hey, Bandrew. My name's Sean. I've been on before. Thanks for having me on again. Just a couple things real quick. Number one, are you, and you probably are, familiar with Teenage Bottle Rocket and Masked Intruder? If you aren't, go check them out. They're both awesome pop punk bands. I know you really like pop punk. Secondly, to that point, could you help me maybe possibly figure out how to get that pop punk bass tone? I'm using Easy Mix. Maybe you use it, maybe you don't. Maybe you can help, maybe you can't. I don't know. I just really want that Green Day-y bass tone, and I can't seem to find it. I've gotten close, so any help is always appreciated, and you have a great day, sir, and thanks again for putting me on. You're the best.
Sean, what an awesome question, and I appreciate you asking it because this is something completely out of my wheelhouse. So to answer it, I recorded a quick demonstration and test scenario for you, and let's jump to that. Past Bandrew, take it away. All right, Sean, so I'm going to go ahead and give this a shot, but I will admit that I am no expert in matching tones. But the first tip that I have to getting that Green Day sound is to make sure that you're using a pick for your bass that gives you the really sharp attack, and it lets you really dig into the strings, which is what I hear when I listen to Green Day. So just a quick comparison, this is what it sounds like when I play with my fingers versus when I play with a guitar pick. Sounds really bad because I'm bad at playing with my fingers, but here's a guitar pick. The second tip that I have for you is to use some kind of SVT classic amp simulator for the bass. In Logic Pro, I am just using a stock plugin. I believe it is called Modern Bass Clean, and it gets pretty darn close. It offers a really punchy and really tight sound, but it's also really crisp up top, which is exactly what I hear out of Mike's playing. So I will play with and without the amp sim so you can see what it's accomplishing. And now I want to demonstrate how the bass you're using impacts the sound quality you're getting. So I will play that same long view bass line on a Squier jazz bass, and then I'll switch to a sub bass, which is mimicking a Music Man, and let you hear how different they sound. So Sean, I hope that helps you get a little bit closer to acquiring that Green Day Mike Dirnt bass tone. It is very punchy, very tight, and it also has a lot of crispness to the top end. I know he previously used a maple neck bass, and I think he may now use a rosewood bass. I personally thought that this sub bass, which is mimicking an Ernie Ball Music Man bass, was much closer because the low end was a little bit more recessed and it was a lot clearer, especially when I was playing those double stops. That part, I think it's much closer to what Green Day sounds like. But I hope that helps you. Best of luck, and let me know if you find any tips or tricks to get even closer. Talk to you later. Thanks for the good question. And next up, we have a voice submission from the mad lad from London, the wonderful Donald Wonder, the host of the Voice of Mail podcast. Buckle up, this is a long one, but it is interesting, so stick with it through to the very end. Take it away, Donald.
Bandrew Scott, it's your boy Donald Wonder, the mad lad from London, and the Voice of Mail podcast, here again with another juicy question, food for thought. I'm excited about a product and I want your take on it. And you know what, guys listening, you might already know something about it, and I apologize for the length of this voice note, but I have to explain the situation. Now, I do the podcast with 3 guests in my house, my home studio. We record here, got a mixer, got the juicy microphones, audio quality is great. But because of the coronavirus situation and because my guests have partners and family with underlying health conditions, they don't want to put them at risk, and I completely understand. So we don't know when this is going to end. Nobody knows. So it makes us go online to record our podcast, a la Skype and all these other free things, you know, Zoom, Google Voice, Google Hangouts, whatever you call it. We've tried them and we do not like the quality. And you know what? It really comes down to Skype. And Skype was our recorder of choice. It is a very good. And I found a video just showing how low Skype really is. It's free, so it shouldn't be a surprise, right? Skype gives out very low quality. There's a video I will send to Bandrew that will show how low Skype gives you for free. The quality for your guests are not going to be very good. On top of that, I wanted multi-track recording for people outside of my area that are remote, which is so important to me. I couldn't find a product for so long, and I think I found one that seems to be industry standard, great features, great quality, and on top of that, they seem to be kind of I don't want to say technology leading, but they seem to be creating products that are being used by big companies like the BBC, and they have a YouTube channel. They're called Inequality, and the products they sell are two. One's called, I believe it's IPDTL, and the other one's called, is it SIP.audio? SIP as in SIP, is it Session Integrated, I forgot the acronym, but basically it's the audio IP protocol, one of them anyway. So basically, guys, if you're listening thinking, what the hell is this? It's a paid for application subscription model where you can pay the company to record the sessions using multi-track capabilities. Everybody's on a separate track. I think it's amazing. I haven't seen this anywhere else before. All the free ones do not offer this. Also, they give you quality control. You can actually enhance. I think you can turn up the bit rate. I love this. Their YouTube channel shows so many different uses, and they actually, one of the things that really impressed me is that they even have a tutorial on how to make a Raspberry Pi, like a hub for their software, which is just, it just blew my mind, because they're selling the products like that, but they're also allowing you to make one to connect to their service. Now, again, they're selling the product. They're not doing it out of the greatness of their heart. And a lot of people might not care about paying just to record a podcast. Bandrew, let me go back to that last podcast you just said about podcasters caring about professionalism. The late night show hosts are doing the same thing now. They're isolating and they're still doing their show, but they don't seem to care, or they seem to think it's cool. They can relate. We care. And this product seems awesome. Now, again, the YouTube channel is Inequality, and the product in particular, which has my interest, is IPDTL. I think it's awesome. It looks great. Maybe Alan from SoundSpeed already used this. I've actually, because I semi-work in the audio industry, I've actually reached out to a few people that have used it. They're happy with it. The last thing I want to touch upon is the pricing. I'm a little bit confused because they have a couple of tiers. I think that if I spend about $24 with just the IPDTL product they're selling, I can actually invite people in. And it's all browser-based, by the way, guys. If you're wondering how it works, it just uses the Chrome browser. That's it, no software. And it really blew me away. I'm really impressed with it just as a tech enthusiast. But you know what? I don't know everything. Maybe someone in the audience knows a better product, or maybe there's another product out there like it. I haven't seen one. I really haven't. And the price seems fair. So, Bandrew, does this impress you? Do you think this is really awesome? For the people doing podcasts that are in groups of 3 and 4, this is a product we might be looking into, especially me, who I want to record a podcast where people don't even realize we're not in the same room, especially in these times. And I can see their sales going up because of this, but they seem to have a really good product at a decent price, and they seem to be creating more technology around it to make it really, really viable. And again, they've been using it in big organizations already. So yeah, guys, check out the YouTube channel. Just don't take my word for it. And I'm not sponsored by them. I haven't even paid for it yet. I'm just observing. And I would love to get Bandrew, Speed Sounds, anyone, any other professionals take on it. Maybe you've already spoken about it. If that's the case, I apologize for wasting 6 minutes of your time, possibly. Thanks for listening to me ramble. And you know what? I hope you guys get something out of this, because I honestly think if this is as good as it seems and it looks really effing good, this could really solve a lot of problems, especially seeing how we have to adapt to the current pandemic. So love the podcast as always. I'm always listening. I don't send as much voicemails in, but you know why? Because they're 10 minutes and people probably hating on me. And by the way, guys, I took the feedback from the last voicemail about getting a pop filter. For some reason, when I talk, I whistle sometimes. It's because of a little gap in my tooth. So I'm trying to sort that out and getting a really good filter, a pop filter. By the way, Bandrew, last pop filter that you mentioned, I'm going to buy that possibly, because that sounds like it's going to help me. All right, that's enough of that. Thanks for listening, guys. I want everyone's feedback on this, especially if you could come up with a better alternative.
Alrighty, what a thorough question. And Donald, thank you very much for sending that in. If anybody is interested in Donald's podcast, you can find that at voiceofmail.com. That is MAIL.com. And I will link that in the episode notes. I did go ahead and try to price out a service that I thought would be useful on the Inequality website. And I agree, it was somewhat confusing. I only selected one service or one feature. And that feature was it allows you to send a URL to somebody, they can join, set their audio interface, and then you will get a multi-track recording of everybody in the call, and that is for up to 4 people. The pricing that I saw was $70 a month. That is at the point where I think that is pricing out a lot of hobby podcasters, which is what the majority of shows are. So I don't think that is necessarily going to be the best option. There are a few other options that I have here that I don't personally use, but I know people who have used them, and I have been guests on shows where people have used them. Those are CleanFeed and Zencastr. Both of these are significantly cheaper than Inequality. They both allow you to record multi-track of all of the people in the call, and I believe all of them allow you to record WAV. So you would be able to use either CleanFeed or Zencastr, record on their website, download those files, dump them into your DAW, and then you have 3 or 4 separate tracks for all of the co-hosts of your show. You can edit, do all of that. Another way, which would be absolutely free, may yield a little bit more difficulty because you would have to worry about time drift and syncing issues from different computers, but that would be to do a double ender. What that means is you would call each other on Skype, and then you would all hit record on your computer for your individual microphone. At the end of the recording session, your co-hosts send you their WAV files or their MP3s or whatever. You dump them into your DAW, you line them up to the best of your ability, you edit away, and you're good to go. That saves you all of the service fees, free, but maybe a little bit more difficult. But I will link CleanFeed and Zencastr in the episode notes if you want to learn more about those or maybe get some pricing on them. I have had 0 issues with them, but I am not the host. I am not doing the editing, and I always record backups when I'm a guest and then send that to them afterwards in case they need it. So, Donald, thank you very much for that question. If anybody watching or listening has another suggestion for a service that allows multi-tracking online, let me know in the comments or send an email, askbandrew@gmail.com, and I will forward it to Donald or maybe compile a bunch of them on a website and link it places or something. Donald, thank you very much. And I think that's actually going to wrap up for this week's episode. I don't have anything else, and I am sorry there is still no news. These news networks won't shut the F up about coronavirus, and there's nothing that I can pull from coronavirus and turn it into some kind of, oh, you know what? This is going to affect creators this way. Your views may go up, your views may go down, your listenership may go up, your listenership may go down. There's my news analysis for you on coronavirus, because that's all everybody is talking about. Absolutely ridiculous. Give us something else, please. Please and thank you. Until next week, I hope you have an amazing Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Next Sunday, I will talk at you. You are an amazing human being. I love you to death. Stay safe out there. Wash your hands. Wear a face mask if you want. Don't go out. Don't go to the effing park. Don't go to the effing park, you dope. I know I don't need to tell you because you're listening to this show and you are a genius. If you see somebody at the park, just say, "What are you doing?" Don't yell at them. If they're your friend, say, "What are you doing?" Knock it off. Now I am becoming a coronavirus, but I'll talk to you next week. I love you. Bye.
This has been a Geeks Rising production. Your executive producer is Bandrew Scott. For more information, please visit www.geeksrising.com.